All right, everybody. It is August. As you know, it's August 12th. It's a big day. Throwback Christmas, actually. Before we talk about Christmas, we are the Sons of Saturday. We got Billy Ray. Did we get the mustache yesterday? Today? When did we shave the mustache?
Yep. This happened yesterday. I probably should have left half a guard or another guard up because it's basically baby's bottom here. But yes, this is new as of yesterday.
Okay, good for you. You're in San Diego. Welcome back. And then we have Bryce Chalkley, formerly welcome back to the show. Bryce Chalkley, the Charlotte resident.
First-time caller.
We bring Bryce in for the fun pods. So if you're here for the next hour or so, I hope you're excited. Bryce, it's great to have you back. How are you?
I am super fired up. This podcast segment kind of signals to me that the football season is around the corner. I know last year we did the first one, running it back again this year. Super excited. The only thing I'm bummed about is I got a new mic, or my first mic ever. I was so excited to use it. I don't have the right pieces. Let's kind of leave it at that. Billy said I was a little technologically challenged. It's hard to argue that. It's hard to argue that right now. And then my wife came to chime in, and it got ugly. It was a bloodbath. I'm glad you missed it. I'm excited to be here. Can't wait to get started.
Real quick, because I know, Pat, you have some exciting news that hopefully you've seen on social so far. But if this is your first time or you're not familiar, this is the ultimate college football road trip draft. Essentially, to set the table, we cannot pick Virginia Tech games. They're off the table. We will say how excited we are, week of. But essentially we have to pick what game we would go to that is still available, which means somebody before you has not chosen it. And you cannot go to the same destination twice. So in week 1, if I choose to go to Miami at Florida, I cannot go to Florida again. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Can't guarantee that I won't make a mistake and go to the same place twice, but hopefully Pat will recognize that and call me out. I'm going to try really hard though. Pat, any fire away, dude.
It's Roback Christmas. They sent us a ton of Roback. It's official. There is Virginia Tech licensed Roback apparel. Official collegiate licensed apparel coming from our friends at Roback. Take 20% off your first order using the code SUNSVT. This is an awesome piece. They have really good sweatshirts. This is a hoodie. As you can see, I'm wearing it. Oh, look, Hokies. Hoodie Nation, Hokie Nation. And then the quarter zip as well. We have the QZ. This is your standard orange and maroon Roback quarter zip. There's more on their website. Go check them out. We'll put a link in the description of this podcast on YouTube in the article. And you'll see it all over social media. But again, check it out. I know they have a couple waves of epic gear coming in for this football season. If you're going to Vanderbilt, if you're going to Blacksburg, we want to see you wearing your Roback Virginia Tech licensed apparel. So with that, who wants to lead the way?
Quick.
Snake draft.
Real quick.
Snake draft.
Real quick. Yes, snake draft, and I need your help keeping track of it. Just as an aside, before we get started, the AP poll did come out today. Virginia Tech was second in teams receiving votes. I frankly don't care. It doesn't really matter what you're rated before the season unless you're a group of 5 team, because you have to claw your way into gaining respect versus where in the AP poll for Power 5 teams, you can earn your respect. So not sure if anybody else had any points on the AP poll that came out today. If not, we can get started. But I did just want to put that out there.
Cool. All right.
Get going.
So we're gonna go in youth order. So Billy Ray, you're gonna get the first pick overall. You are still in your mid late 20s. So we're gonna give you the first pick here in week 0. What are you looking at?
Wow. So what I did was, and maybe this was wrong, Patrick, is I have week 0 and week 1 kind of combined because there aren't a ton of games in week 0. So
I
you're
did the
just
same.
going off of,
I did the
yeah,
same.
like
I kind of started week 1. I'll be honest.
yeah,
Guys,
yeah, Pat. No, I think you come on. There's like 3 games in week 0. Like,
yeah, we got to talk.
Oh man,
about
I'm gonna go to the
it.
Georgia State Norfolk State game. Like, what are we? Why would we waste our time doing that?
You clearly swept it out from under my feet. All I wanted to do was talk about my trip to Hawaii to see Delaware State.
The Norfolk State game could be great. Just saying, it could be. We don't know.
All right, Pat. Do you want to do week 0? I'm not going to take a pick. I'm going to punt my pick to week 1.
No, you guys can have fun going to Norfolk State. I'm going to go to Hawaii to see Delaware State play. All right, so we'll move on.
I think this is just a huge error on Pat's part. He's going to be worn out. But if you have followed my guy Pat Finn on Twitter, you know that his air travel escapades have been an absolute disaster. Our guy Pat is going to be stuck in Hawaii until week 5. He's going to miss the entire non-conference schedule for the Hokies because he had to go to week 0 in Hawaii.
That's true. True.
I just can't paint it any more clear than that, Pat. Like, I hope you have a great time. You might be legally a resident by the time you're able to leave. But Billy and I are gonna actually watch football this year, or at least in the month of September, while you're stuck on the Big Island.
Here's what we'll do. We will make sure that this college football road trip is sponsored by Delta Airlines and Delta Airlines only, with some supplemental Southwest where we need Southwest. But American Airlines, you are not allowed to have any say in where we're going this fall. Otherwise, I'm getting in my car and I'm driving.
So for week 1, look, I think there are a ton of fun matchups. There's no way with the first pick I can go with anybody other than Miami at Florida at 3:30. It's one of the reasons that I am excited that Virginia Tech plays at 11. It is a game where I tweeted this the other day, you do not want to be the losing coach of this football game after this game. Mario Cristobal, ton of question marks about his ability to handle game management. He has the most talented team he's had in a long time, but he has a really talented football team with a really solid quarterback with sky high expectations. And you're playing at Florida week 1. On the other side, Billy Napier, literally dead man walking. If you've seen the movie, The Green Mile, you have Percy walking the entire way down. Dead man walking, dead man walking. That's Billy Napier. And he might be a dead man by the end of September if he loses this game against Miami. I can't wait to watch. I think it's going to be cinema. And we're going to learn a lot about Miami. So that's the game that I would go to and the game that I would watch. It's going to be hot, though. Instead of wearing Rowback, I might just show up in my underwear because it's going to be so hot. So that's my pick.
That's a great soundbite. I think it's the perfect pick. Well done, Billy.
Since I'm next here, this is actually, a bittersweet game on the calendar here. We've put a lot of time, effort, and energy into this Nashville trip. And unfortunately, there's going to be one member of the Finn family who will not be joining us in Nashville because his Notre Dame Fighting Irish are playing in College Station. And that is where I'm going to take my talents if I'm not able to go to Nashville on August 31st. It is Notre Dame at Texas A&M in College Station. You get to see the Mike Elko Texas A&M reunion. You get to see Notre Dame go on the road in a big time environment. Kyle Field. You guys have seen any of those side-by-sides that they did with NCAA football with the pre-Johnny football versus the post-Johnny football of them closing in Kyle Field's end zone? Definitely a place that I really want to check out at some point in my college football fandom. So going down to College Station.
That game's going to be awesome. I have no idea who's going to win, and it's going to be such a huge game. The Riley Leonard, why am I blanking on the coach at Texas A&M? What's his name from Duke?
Mike Elko.
Mike Elko, rivalry game. It's going to be awesome. I hope it's a great game. Well, I guess being the old man in the group, that means I get third pick. It's kind of crazy that we're going to leave Clemson, Georgia on the bench here. And before I pick my pick, yeah, I am. I'm not picking that game. Like, I know it sounds crazy. I don't think if you paid me to go to that game, I'd go. I think it's such a hard city to get to, and that game is going to be so boring. Georgia's going to be like 18-point favorites, and they'll probably cover. I'm telling you, it's going to be a boring game. Georgia is just too much for them. They're going to wear them out.
Hey, before you've moved to the next thought, Billy Ray, we have experience going to a Georgia Clemson game.
Yeah.
This game's in Atlanta, though. It's not in Athens.
It was in Charlotte.
No, it was in Charlotte.
What did we do?
We left early. One of the most egregious things I've ever seen in my life was you put mayonnaise on a bratwurst or an Italian sausage because they were out of condiments, which was just a crazy move. Like
it was Duke's.
I would have raw dogged it if it was me personally. I wouldn't have put any mayo on it. But that was a wild move.
But we left that game at halftime.
We did.
It was so boring.
But we were also exhausted. Like we went to that game the day after Virginia Tech literally beat COVID and North Carolina the day before. So excuse us for being a little tired. But Bryce, I have two games that I have circled for this one.
I'm not excited about
choose
that
one
game.
of them. I know you're not. So what are you going to pick?
My first pick was Miami at Florida. They hadn't played each other once in 10 years. That's why I said it was the perfect pick. What I'm picking with the third pick, though.
Miami's only played Florida once in 10 years. They play every year, don't they?
No. They've played one time since 2013, and that was in 2019. Wow. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Research.
Wow.
It's a crazy thing. Labor Day weekend, I'm rallying the troops. We're getting on a plane. American Airlines, proud AA Advantage member. And we are going to Vegas. And we are going to watch the Trojans play LSU.
You're not getting home from Vegas, all right?
Oh, I don't have a Pat Finn ID. I'll be just fine. No, I'm going to the USC LSU game. I think that's going to be an absolute incredible weekend. The LSU donors are going to absolutely have a blast. And I'm sure the USC fans will have fun too. I do think LSU wins, but it's just going to be an absolute party for 3 straight days. It's going to be awesome.
Hard to argue with that.
My pick.
Hard to argue with that. Before we go to week 2, and Bryce, you are up first with the snake draft. Honorable mentions that week.
There are 2 that are awesome. What do we? We're leaving here.
Yeah, I left them on the bench. You've already told me. I said the game was going to be boring, and then you doubled down and said you've been to that exact game.
Bryce, we're not talking about that game. Penn State plays at West Virginia that week. Like, that's an awesome game. You have no interest in going to that game. Not to mention, Bryce, for a guy who loves to golf and loves to have a good time, Wyoming is traveling to Arizona State in Scottsdale. I'm not saying that that's going to be, the best, but if you have an opportunity on a road trip to go to Scottsdale and watch 2 weird teams play football, why not go to Scottsdale? But you're going to go to Vegas to watch LSU trounce USC?
To be fair, you're upset with me that I chose Vegas over Morgantown.
That's fair. It's fair.
It is like when the people who give Billy Ray a hard time, please use that soundbite right there. That he said that Morgantown was better than Las Vegas. You have my permission to troll this man.
Yes. Pat, did we miss any good ones?
Yes. Richmond is going to UVA to pick up their first win of the season. So naturally, keep your eyeballs on that television on August 31.
This is not a joke. I can totally see Virginia only winning 1 game at home. Go look at their home schedule. It's a tough slate as it compares to their talent level. That might be the only game that they win at home this year. But
week 2, baby. Let's go. Bryce, where are we going?
Kind of had a similar thought here. I was kind of looking where I thought like a good combination of a good game and a great party. I'm going to go to Lincoln, Nebraska, and see Colorado play Nebraska. I know which game I'm leaving off there, and I'm not going to steal someone's thunder who's probably going to pick it, and I will have a comment shockingly, I know. I think that game would be a ton of fun to be in Nebraska. They are so excited. I'm going to butcher his pronunciation, but I think their freshman quarterback's name is Dylan. Is it Raiola?
Very good. Awesome.
They're super excited about him. Matt Rule, he's a college football coach, right? The experiment here didn't work in Colorado, but he had a lot of success at Baylor. I would love to see them get off to a strong start. I do enjoy Colorado as well. I know Coach Prime is an interesting yet exciting character and a lot of talent there. It seems like it could be a high-scoring game and one both teams would really want to win, and will probably decide bowl eligibility for both teams, or very well could. So my pick is the Big Red Sea in Nebraska.
It's a good pick. I think
it's tough. There's some good games on here.
There's some good games on here. BYU SMU is a good one. That's a rematch of the Holiday Bowl from the 80s that was on College Classics for all you NCAA football heads out there. EA Sports game. App State's at Clemson. Boise is at Oregon. That's the LeGarrette Blount punch game rematch, if you guys remember that from way back yonder. Mississippi State goes to Arizona State. Think about just those two cultures colliding. But I am actually going to bypass NC State and Tennessee playing in our backyard here in Charlotte and go to the Big House. You get Texas and you get Michigan. You get two teams. We're in the playoff last year. I think Quinn Ewers going into the Big House. Big House, Michigan's having a rebuild. And I mean, you get an SEC Big Ten matchup like this, like we've never seen before. I'm taking it up to the Big House.
I think this is a crazy move by you.
I just don't think Michigan is going to be that good this year.
I think Michigan is maybe going to win 7 or 8 games. And I think Texas is a legit playoff contending team.
I understand that, but you go into – it's September. We're not talking about a game in late October or November. This is early September. You go to the defending national champions. It's going to be awesome.
I mean, I would totally.
until it's 21-3 and Michigan's punting the ball back to Texas.
Like this is kind of like making the case for I'm going to go see Colorado play TCU last year because TCU was in the national championship. This is not the Michigan team or even close to the Michigan team that we saw compete for national championship.
But that was still an awesome football game. TCU Colorado last year was an awesome football game.
Yeah, it was. Michigan will lose that game by probably 21 points or more. I personally am being boxed into taking this because this can't fall off the menu here. Tennessee and NC State are two teams that are not getting a ton of hype in their own respective conference, and both can make the college football playoff. NC State is a legitimate, I wouldn't even call them a dark horse. They are competing to win an ACC championship. They deserve and probably have more hype than we do in the ACC this year. Tennessee, as far as talent is concerned and coaching is concerned, if they finish in the top 3 in the SEC, they are going to be in the college football playoff. So this is a game very early on where you're going to see either two teams compete that are really, really good or one team come off as a fraud. So I will go with that game. Now, just hindsight 2020, Pat, in my opinion, if you selected this game, which I had slotted as the second best game of the week, I would have decided to go to Duke at Northwestern. Why would you do that? Because this is a Pokemon gotta catch 'em all type situation. Northwestern Stadium is under construction this year, so they are playing in a venue that holds 15,000 people that is on Lake Michigan. It is one of those games where you can say, I was there that year when this happened. You get to watch these two cornball nerds duke it out on a high school football field on the lake. I'm in. So I'm going to have to pick up this Tennessee-NC State game and put it on my back, but that's where I would have gone.
Can I say, have at it. I've been to so many games at that dang stadium where my own team isn't playing. I'm not interested in going to B of A to see another Florida State versus another Louisville like last year. It was boring. Clemson, Georgia a few years ago, boring. I really hope Tennessee, NC State lives up to the label. I think it will, but that's just not what I want to do. I'd rather go to the Big House.
I on this note, because I have them on my big board too. That game I had it listed as 3. It is so disappointing that games like Georgia, Clemson, NC State, Tennessee, awesome fan bases, great culture, that we are stuck watching these games in neutral sites. Like I don't know what happens behind the scenes where they come together and agree to play each other, but the fact that neutral sites should only be like if there's some type of threat where they can't play the game on the actual campus, like or
like
snow. I'm being serious. No, like it should just never happen. They're not nearly as fun. They like it's like it would be so fun if you were a Wolfpack fan to travel to Knoxville for this game and then get to host them when they come. And the fact that neither team gets that opportunity and they got to come to Charlotte, I think it just ruins the whole pageantry, and I wish they didn't have them. I really do.
For the record, this week Virginia Tech does play Marshall. We didn't mention that at the top. So essentially that means that we're going to have oh no, this game is at home, so we won't. We will be I know, Pat, we're day tripping that. Bryce, what game are you going to this year? What's on your menu?
I don't have a
no Sharpie yet.
Let Mike Russ cook away game trip. I will probably be out of town for the Marshall game.
Okay.
So
okay. We are moving on to week 3. Virginia Tech is going to Old Dominion. I can assure you that none of us 3 are going to that game. Pat, do I go first here? This is me, right?
This is you.
Okay. So a couple of different options here. I'm not going to say this point because there's something about this week that jumps off. I want to make sure that neither of you are picking this game before I go ahead and talk about it. I am going to go with Colorado at Colorado State. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because I don't know when else I can go. I can't do that. No, I can't do that. I'm going with Alabama at Wisconsin. Alabama at Wisconsin. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking there. Alabama at Wisconsin. It's at noon, which kind of sucks. But Wisconsin, I think Coach Fickell is coming into his own. I think Alabama has something to prove. This is the first time that Alabama is playing a team like Wisconsin, and you're not just kind of automatically Sharpieing them to win. Alabama would always play some out-of-conference opponent at the beginning of the year, and they're automatically going to win. So I think it's going to be a fun game. So that is my pick. I don't know what got into me there with the Colorado State thing. I'm sorry. That was really, really poor.
Yeah.
So I'll pass it off to you, Pat.
Could you tell me the city that Colorado State is in or the stadium that they play in?
No. It's Fort Collins, isn't it? Yeah, they're in Fort Collins.
There we go. All right, Phil.
Yeah.
Geography whiz. I'm on the spot, comes through, hits its stand-up double. All right. Week 3.
I think week 3 is
whoa.
No butts, no
coconuts.
No, hold on. How do I pick last and then I get it.
It's a snake draft, homeboy.
I thought it was alternating. Never mind.
So this is an interesting week because this is the Pac-12 revenge week. Okay, you have Washington State playing Washington. You have the Civil War. Oregon goes to Corvallis, Oregon State, and plays Oregon State. Not going to it, but very much intrigued. We'll have it on the side. We'll be watching the score. For me, it's the backyard brawl. West Virginia goes to Pittsburgh. This game is always awesome. This game is always early now. It used to be late in the season. Now we get it in September when both teams, don't have that many losses compiled yet. But for me,
dude, you have to go to Aperture. You have to go to Heinz Field. That kind of sucks.
You just hyped up Morgantown 2 weeks ago, and now you're saying the Heinz Field sucks.
Oh, I would definitely rather watch a game at Milan Pushkar than Heinz Field. I mean, yeah. What are we talking about? 100%.
I'm with Pat. You previewed your bachelor party in Morgantown. I mean, I can make that connection.
Wait, what?
Over Vegas.
Okay.
You missed it. It went over your head. It's fine.
So, yes, the answer is the backyard brawl for me.
Okay.
Now it's my turn. Pat, hand up. Apologies. Went out of turn. I almost wish I could pick two games here because I would pick either the Apple Cup or the whatever they renamed the Civil War game. Would I rather go to Corvallis, Oregon, or I think I'd rather is Washington and no, not Seattle. Where are they?
Seattle.
I think it.
Pretty
I
sure
know
it's
their
in
stadium.
Seattle.
I think it is because their stadium, is on the water there. It's beautiful. We'll go with you know what? We'll do the Oregon State game. That'll be my pick. I think it's cool that both these games are happening at the same time. I think it'll be kind of a cool moment, but in a way, it is kind of sad. For the longest time, we saw these teams and view them as equals to an extent. I know Oregon and Washington have had success more than the other two recently, but it's sad that these two rivalries are going to look like what the Ohio State game looks like 3 to 5 years from now. And frankly, we'll probably get a taste of that this year. So bum for them. But that's just the nature of the conference realignment beast. So I will go to the Oregon State game.
Some other games
Couple,
Ole Miss
I have one.
Yeah.
I just one that I don't think you're going to mention that I do want to get out on front on. I think Cal can really embarrass the ACC this week. Cal is playing San Diego State. San Diego State.
You going?
I'm not going to go. I just want to say, like, it's a little bit of a bummer. We're 3 weeks into the season already. And look, I know it's early. Like, the ACC is so far removed from, like, the radar of games that you want to attend. Like, it's just not, like, nobody is saying anything about the ACC yet. Miami, Florida was one that we talked about here. We just need more compelling matchups in the ACC.
Dude, I'm going to the West Virginia Pitt game. It's going to be awesome.
What other games are we missing, Pat?
Yeah, A&M goes to Florida. Could be multiple losses between both of those teams.
Can we please not every week just say the third best SEC game, the one that we're missing out on? Because that's where we're going, and I see the schedule too. We don't need to highlight the game that just missed CBS.
Georgia goes to Kentucky.
Well, the SEC is not on CBS anymore.
It's funny because I was about to list off 3 SEC games. So we can move along. Bryce, week 4, who we got? Mr. Snake Draft.
Well, Virginia Tech does have Rutgers at home. Very sneaky game here. Just saying, Rutgers is going to be good. Just putting that out there. Bryce, go ahead.
I think it's going to be a great game. I'm really excited about that. That's the game we're taking my 1-year-old daughter to. So she went to the NC State game last year, going to the Rutgers game this year. We're pretty excited. I think this one was a pretty easy pick for me. Going to go to the Utah-Oklahoma State game. Probably the game of the year in the Big 12. Was it Cam Rising is back for Utah, or Oklahoma State always. They seem to be kind of the forgotten team over there in the Oklahoma-Texas region. No one really talks about them, and they always have a pretty decent football team, if not a great football team. I think that game would be a lot of fun, and that's what I'm going to pick.
Is that at Oklahoma State, Bryce?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Real quick on that game, I just want to say I don't know how much longer those two coaches will be there. Kyle Whittingham has been at Utah for a long time. He's 64 years old. Mike Gundy has been at Oklahoma State, which seems like my entire lifetime, legitimately. He's only 57, but
he's been there since at least he was 40.
Yes, he has been there at least since he was 40. And seems like, every year he's saying something, we're like, fire him because of that, and he kind of turns it up like every year just a little bit. So maybe that's longer they're both there.
Maybe that's his motivation to win 9 and 10 games every year because it's in his contract. Yeah. It's like, hey, you can say whatever you want all season long, but he starts chirping when he's like 2-2, and then he's got to kick it into gear. That feels that game kind of feels like our first like round of 16 game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that one where the winner's going to really be in a strong position to make the playoffs, and the loser's going to have a lot of ground to make up potentially.
I'm going to keep it in the Sooner State. We're going to be down the road in Norman. Tennessee goes to Oklahoma on week 4, Saturday, the 21st of September. So I will be there first. Looking at this SEC schedule, you're getting some cool games, and same with the Big Ten. But yeah, I'll be in Norman.
I mean, yeah, Bryce, cover your ears. The SEC is literally awesome. There are awesome games on every single week. You're right. This is my pick. I have a pick where I'm going to go, and then I have a game that I'm going to have my Walkman earphones on. I am going to be sitting in the stands in Clemson, South Carolina, watching one of the most underrated like beefs in college football, Dave Doran and Dabo Swinney. You got NC State taking on Clemson. You got Clemson is still clinging on to the we own this conference. You have NC State who's kind of climbing the mountain saying we're going to own this conference one day. So you got all this stuff going on. You got these two coaches that don't like each other. But just up the road, I'm going to put North Carolina on upset alert because North Carolina is hosting James Madison. James Madison, one of those teams that Jake Malasek said it when he was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. One of those teams that, hey, Power 5 schools, you probably should stop scheduling this team because there's no upside. They bring in talent every single year. They coach really, really well. It doesn't seem to matter who's coaching this team. Have a lot of money. So I'm going to be listening for North Carolina to fall on their face, and I'm going to be looking for Dabo and Doran to punch each other in the face. That's going to be my Saturday for week 4.
Is the Clemson NC State game the modern era of Virginia Tech versus Miami?
No.
It very well. Why? I feel like that's such a biased answer. Why?
I just can't. To me, it's just not like a culture match. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't excite me in that way. I don't know.
I guess you probably need NC State. I guess you probably need NC State to be a little closer to
I think they're
yeah.
I guess to me they're just like they're also so like similar in their makeup.
That's true too. You don't have as much of a culture clash.
I think that's what I'm trying to say is that like you had Virginia Tech is the small town in Southwest Virginia playing Miami, the big bad city down in Florida. I like obviously both tons of talented kids playing football. I just think they're just kind of different. I don't know. Maybe I'm not explaining it well. I just don't think of that immediately. I get what you're trying to say, but I just don't think of it immediately.
Pat, you went, right? What was your pick? You picked the Oklahoma game.
Yep. So
the only game on my radar this week that we haven't talked about is USC at Michigan. I personally don't think either of those teams are going to be really playing meaningful football in November. That's just my take. Any other games, Pat?
UVA goes to Coastal Carolina. Baylor goes to Colorado. Dion watch. UCLA goes to LSU. There's a lot of ACC games this week that have some intrigue. You get TCU at SMU. Michigan State.
That game's going to be fun.
Michigan State goes to Boston College. You get a little Stanford cross-coastal at Syracuse, one of their first tastes of the East Coast living. Miami goes to USF. How about that? Miami playing down in Tampa.
The only comment I'll make
though.
Yeah, they're in the Big 12 now, right?
Oh,
they're a Power 5 school. So
the only comment I'll make, and I know this is a extreme long shot, but how fun would it be? Well, maybe not because we want the ACC to do well, but I wonder how crazy the odds would be for Clemson to be 0-3.
I would certainly hope not.
They play Georgia, App State, and then NC State.
What a fun September. That's like Tech in 2009, where we had Bama week 1, Miami week 3, and Nebraska week 4. I think that's how it's set up.
How did you just compare? How did you just compare those?
Tough games.
Miami, Alabama, and Nebraska compared to App State, Georgia, and NC State?
Yeah. NC State is on the same level as Nebraska. Miami is on the same level as
we played Miami week 2.
I think we played Miami like week 3. I think it was
Nebraska week 3.
3 out of the first 4 weeks. We had Bama, Nebraska, Miami. Bama,
that's way harder than NC.
Yeah. It went like Bama, Marshall, Nebraska, Miami. Anywho,
am I first here in week 5?
You are week 5.
Okay,
we're at Miami.
Week 5. Virginia Tech travels to Coral Gables on Friday night. I'm going to be at a wedding, and then I will be at the Stanford Clemson game in Clemson, South Carolina on that Saturday. I will be there. So that is where I will actually be IRL in real life. This one is really easy to me. It's where I think College Game Day should go. It is the biggest game in the group of 5 for the entire college football season. Liberty is traveling to App State. Whoever wins this football game is probably going to be in the playoff. It is the best group of 5 game of the year. Boone is going to be absolutely on fire, and it's going to be a really fun matchup. So that's my pick. I think the Liberty App game, I have the first pick. That's where I'm going. I think that is going to be a fantastic football game. That's where I would go.
Bryce, you look like you want to say something.
No, it's your pick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
nothing else to pick. There's one game on the schedule this week.
I think there's better opportunities to go see a game in Boone, but
no, there's not. There's no. That is the biggest group of 5 game of the year.
I to be fair, and I actually think that's a good take. I do. The problem is there's another football game that weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, Bryce, I'm wondering if we're thinking of the same game, because we might not be. Louisville goes to Notre Dame this weekend. Oklahoma goes to Auburn. Kentucky goes to Ole Miss. Georgia's at Alabama.
Yeah.
I am so excited about this ACC game. Florida State, who should be undefeated, goes to Dallas and plays Southern Methodist. This is going to be SMU's welcome to the ACC hosting Florida State. I think that's going to set up to be an incredible time, an incredible atmosphere, and a great football game.
I love that. I think SMU is being slept on. Is their quarterback Preston Stone? Is he still there?
Preston Stone, yeah, P. Stone.
He's really good. I mean, Florida State, they got a tough start. They have some really tough games. I think they play Clemson the week after SMU. They play Miami a little bit later. It'd be interesting to see how they do, but they could certainly have back-to-back losses in the ACC with SMU and Clemson. I think they have Clemson at home, so we'll see. It'd be a really good stretch. The game of the week, arguably the game of the year, if Alabama, continues the path they're on, is the Georgia-Alabama game. That's the one that I'm going to pick. I think if the game is reversed, if it's in Georgia, it doesn't interest me as much, even though it would be an awesome party, just because I think Georgia would be able to take care of business at home. I think that it's away. It's probably going to be closer. Georgia probably wins, just because I don't know who the quarterback at Alabama is going to be at that point. Yeah,
I have an interesting zag.
Game of the week could be the game of the year.
I have an interesting zag on this point. and it's further cementing my point on the Liberty app game. I fully expect Alabama and Georgia to be in the playoff. Like, who gives a shit who wins this game? Like, it's going to be a great game. It's two really good teams. The SEC is going to get 3 teams into the playoff minimum. So the Liberty app game, you can bet your bottom dollar that if you win that game, you're more than likely in the playoff, and the other team is more than likely not in the playoff. That's just how I feel about it.
I'll zag you. I think Alabama probably, they don't have to win that game by any means. Like, a loss to Georgia is not going to ruin your chances. But they do play at LSU. They do play at Oklahoma. They do play at Tennessee. They have to play Missouri. I'm not saying that Alabama's going to lose 3 games, but
they lose 3 games, they're in my opinion. I'm just telling you, if they lose 3 of those games, they're going to be in the playoff.
I don't think I agree with you, because their resume of wins against Western Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Auburn, it's not going to be a 9-3. If their losses are to LSU and to Tennessee and to Georgia, and they don't beat like any top 25 teams, I don't think.
I'm just telling you, we've seen this before. We've seen it before where you can go ahead and dissect the resume. At the end of the day, it's going to be a 3-loss SEC team. Like, they're not going to care who they lost to. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's the way it should be. I'm just saying if Alabama has 3 losses, they will find a way into the 12-team college football playoff. I think that's just how it's going to boil down.
I agree that I think a 9-3 SEC team is probably going to make the playoff this year, but there's going to be multiple of them. That's not going to be just one. And I think I think if your losses are to the 3 best teams that you played, like, it's going to be hard to say, oh, well, they went 9-3. Who cares that their strength of schedule was, their strength of their wins was lesser than other teams. I think you're going to have to be the best 9-3 team, and you're going to have a resume building win like against Georgia or at LSU.
Real quick on this week, Pat, I know that you're excited for the Washington Huskies to fly all the way on Alaskan Airlines to Rutgers in Piscataway, New Jersey on Friday night. Maybe we go to Mooseheads and watch that game. I don't know. That might be a fun game to watch. It's on Friday night. And then if you and your local,
you just said you were at a wedding. You just said you're going to be at a wedding.
Right. Yeah, no, we can't do that. I'll be at a wedding. You're right. Those are 2 fun games on Friday night.
Life plans with BRM.
I know. And then if you're in constant contact with your bookie, Colorado is at UCF that weekend. That is the No Defense Bowl. We can say that that's sponsored by Miralax or something like that. That is the No Defense Bowl. It is just going to be an endless parade of points and poo. So that is what that game is going to be. But week 6, Virginia Tech goes to Stanford. Bryce, where are you going?
Am I up?
Yeah.
I think there's a couple good matchups this week. Man. Ooh. I think I'm going to go to the Clemson-Florida State game. If Florida State's able to get a win at SMU and Clemson's able to get back on track after they're most likely lose game 1 against Georgia, which is a non-event. There's no penalty to lose to them. That could very well decide one of the spots in the ACC championship game. It's just going to be a good football game. Tallahassee also is an absolute fun town. Shout out Madison Social. We had a blast there a few years ago. So that's what I'm going with.
Can I just say that this year, for whatever reason, the Clemson-Florida State game doesn't have as much pop off of the paper as it has for the last 6 years. Like, I saw that game, and basically every other year you're just like, oh, it's the must-see game in the ACC. Like, these are the 2 best teams, probably going to be both playing each other again later on. Doesn't feel that way this year, at least for me.
But you do have an embedded storyline. And what is that storyline? Yeah. The return of DJU. But DJU gets to play Clemson at home instead of having to go into Death Valley, which I'm sure would have been an interesting experience for him. I'm having a tough time week.
It's really crazy. It is college sports now. Are we going to start seeing like those thank you reels? Like, when like, I don't know, like Charlotte welcomes a player who was there and traded in the same year. And they do like the thank you, Mikal Bridges, for everything you've done for Charlotte. Are we going to start seeing that with college players? Like, are college players going to come back and they play like the I'm coming home video because they transferred their sophomore year? And I don't know. That's going to be kind of weird. I hope that's not a thing that happens.
I think it probably won't happen just because in almost every instance, it's going to be the player's choice to leave. Whereas like in pro sports,
traded.
That's not always the case. Like they can't control their situation all the time. So like
good call out.
Mookie Betts goes to LA. He might have wanted to stay in Boston. I don't know. I'm just using that as an example. When he comes back to Boston, he's probably, not entirely disliked, right?
Pretty painful example, Bryce. But,
pour one out.
Yeah.
So this week, not too many great matchups. I do see there being some blowouts. You have Iowa going to Ohio State. You have Auburn going to Georgia.
I hope you don't take mine.
I already picked A&M, so I can't pick Missouri at A&M. And then, you got UCLA going to Penn State, which could be interesting, but Penn State will probably win by double digits there. So I'm going to take the preseason top 10 ranked team who's going on the road. And I have Ole Miss going to Willie B playing at South Carolina. You have an Ole Miss team with a ton of firepower. This is, the best roster and the best setup that Lane Kiffin has had since he has had the helm at Ole Miss. You have Shane Beamer. You could argue he's on the hot seat. You could argue he's not on the hot seat. But this is going to be a massive game. That stadium is going to be rocking. And that the press conferences earlier in that week, whether it's Shane, it's the Shane versus Lane Bowl. You don't get this game a lot. SEC West versus SEC East. So I'm fired up for this one. Ole Miss in their awesome uniforms. Give me that one.
Pat, I love that pick. We are halfway through this exercise. I do want to bring up a change. So if you're picking first or you're picking last, doing like the run around the rosy of all the games is a good strategy. But if you're picking in the middle and then you're like, I could go here, then you like soft preview my pick. So please stop doing the drive-by shooting of the games you might pick and just give us your pick. Pick.
It's like if you had a pick in the NFL draft and you explained why you weren't picking the other 10 players available and then picked your guy. So then the talking heads are like, well, I don't know what else to talk about. They just analyze the next 9 picks. So we'll just go to commercial break.
Yeah. Love the talk through, but not when you're the middle pick. I'm fired up to pick the Missouri at A&M game, and here's why.
Yeah.
Missouri is likely going to be 4-0. If they win this game, they will be 6-0 after they go house UMass in a Boston Massacre. They're going to get on a plane. They're going to go up to wherever and play UMass. And then they have Auburn at home after that. Missouri is one of my dark horses to participate in the SEC championship. They're one of my dark horses to go to the college football playoff. This Drinkowitz guy, he's weird. He's weird looking. He's just all sorts of types of weird. It worked for Damon Hazleton, and it's working in college football. So shout out to that guy. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to Missouri at Texas A&M. Never been there. I think it would be really cool. So
that could potentially be the best SEC game of the year that no one's really talking about that much. If Florida State and/or Clemson get off to rough starts, College Game Day is going to be looking for a home, and they might be going back to Kyle Field for a second time. They've already announced they're going for game 1. Like that could be a matchup of 2 top 8 teams. It'd be really hard to ignore that. I think it's going to be a great game.
I am kind of upset that I'm picking first here because there is I am, because I know what my pick is, and it's
I know you love the powder blues. I know you love it. But it could be the game of the century.
It has been must-watch television in the Mitchell household for 28 years. And I'm thinking of classic games by Dexter McCluster. I'm thinking of classic games by, DK Metcalf. I'm thinking of all of these awesome and fun Dante Moncrief, Bo Wallace. And everybody talks about LSU. Everyone's like, oh, man, LSU, dude, one of the best teams in college football history. Well, little old Ole Miss is 43-65 against LSU. Ole Miss is now fun. Ole Miss is now cool. LSU, they're still trying to figure out if they like Brian Kelly or not. Still trying to figure it out. I'm going to go to Ole Miss at LSU. I love Baton Rouge. I think it's fun. I would have more fun in Baton Rouge than I would in the two towns that these other games are in. So that's where I'm going to go. It's probably not the right pick for everybody, but it's the right pick for me. That's where I want to go.
You mean you don't want to see Missouri play 2 weeks in a row and go to Boston and see them play at UMass?
No, I'm going to skip out on the trip to Worcester or wherever that is.
I'm so glad you picked this because it made my decision a little easier. Because if you picked Ohio State and Oregon, I would have been put in a box of teams that I already have picked. So I will be taking my talents to Eugene, Oregon. I believe this is a game that we wanted to go to in 2020, and then COVID happened, where Ohio State.
This is Tech's bye week, by the way. What a great week to be on a bye. Like just an unbelievable week to have a bye week.
It's going to be a hello week for me, like hello to the TV. I'm going to Oregon, Ohio State. Next question. Autzen Zoo.
That's going to be an amazing game. It is going to be a phenomenal game. It's one of those where it's amazing that these two brands, I'm not sure if they've ever even played each other before, but even the color clash, they have played each other before. They played each other in the college football playoff. The color clash, the culture clash, the travel, it's just the Big Ten commercial in between playing is going to be on, the goated Big Ten commercial. So it's just going to be great, beginning 10.
I feel like this is the only – this is like games like that is when you kind of see – some excitement around conference realignment because we're seeing games that we probably wouldn't see otherwise. Mm-hmm. And I am excited about that. Being that's what's left, I don't love that I'm picking this, but I'm going to pick the Texas-Oklahoma game. I back to my point I made about week one. I hate that these games are a neutral site. I understand there's history of them playing in Dallas. Doesn't mean that I care for it. Thing to note, the game was actually no longer going to be at 11 o'clock local time. It's going to be at 2:30. I've always heard rumors the game was early to kind of control the crowd with the state fair going on. So we'll see if that makes a difference. Should be an awesome game. I think kind of all bets are off in that game. Texas should be favored, but it doesn't really matter in that one.
I do.
Two last comments before. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Isn't that the neutral site game to attend?
Yeah.
Isn't that the neutral site game of all neutral
It's that one or it's the game in Jacksonville. It's one of those two. It's Georgia, Florida, and it's that one are the only two that I'm willing to kind of wave the right flag on. But
I've been to both. Oh, I haven't been to the Texas-Oklahoma game, but I've been there during that game. I would probably favor this one to the other one. But they're both great games, and would love to go to either one of them again. Two comments before we go to week 8. One, I love that Pat can't preview the week, but Billy's allowed to tell us about his entire childhood. So thank you for that. And then secondly, it's already been kind of alluded to, but I will read verbatim my notes. I said, man, this does feel like the best week of college football. All caps, we are in it.
In what?
We're just, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be one of those moments where you FaceTime Billy Ray and Billy Ray is going to be on the couch. And if you're friends with Billy Ray, even just like even acquaintances, you've had a moment where you're talking to him and he'll look at you and be like, isn't this just the best?
This is literally awesome.
Aren't you just having a great time? This is awesome. Like you just like that is the Billy Ray. Isn't this just awesome moment? He's probably on his 4th beer, and for some reason he's crying at the noon game. And you're like, brother, it's just UTEP. Okay? It's okay. It's okay. I love
Bryce,
it, man. It's
Bryce,
too easy to pick fun of you. I do
Bryce,
enjoy it though.
You've never cooked like you just cooked before in your entire life on the pod. That was unbelievable.
Bryce just picked up a master's degree from Bethune-Cookman with that analysis.
And with that, Bryce, you get to go again. This is week 9. I'm sorry, this is week 8. It's kind of a light week. It's kind of a light week. Virginia Tech plays on Thursday night against Boston College, and I feel like there are some really high-end games, and then not a whole lot else. But I'm interested to see what you got next.
Yeah, I don't think I'm cheating with this comment, even though I just watched them play the week before. But before I make my pick, if you go look at the schedule, I'm not gonna do the full preview. This is kind of where I feel like they ripped the Band-Aid off on the conference realignment. There are so many games where I'm not sure teams have played each other, and they're going to be playing each other for a conference game. Like 2 examples. Sorry if I'm ruining anybody's thunder. Oregon at Purdue, UCLA at Rutgers. Like they just feel weird that they're both conference games. Like I don't even know if they're even possible to play in bowl games just because there's normally a disparity between the two. I think it's okay for me to pick Georgia, Texas, just because the game's in Austin and I just went to Dallas. Maybe I'll just keep it like my Texas road trip. That game will probably rival. I mean, it's pretty amazing that we've seen Georgia, Alabama, Oregon State, Oregon, Ohio State, and how we get this game. Like this just feels like we're getting 3 national championship previews in like a month span. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I think that we could see these teams play again for the title. It's going to be weird if they didn't play each other 3 times. It's not that crazy. It could happen. I think it's happened before with Alabama and Georgia. That could happen again here. It's going to be an awesome week. It's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah, I struggled with this week too. Not too many ranked matchups outside or preseason ranked matchups. You get Bama at Tennessee. That might be a spoiler. I'm sorry, but
this is literally my pick.
Does Pat just need to go pick and then walk out? Be done.
Yes, that would be great.
But that's tough for Pat in his defense because he's picking second every time. I don't know if you realize this.
It's kind of it's kind of. I can't even be that strategic. I'm going to Louisville and seeing Miami go down to Louisville, and it's like
really?
It's a total ACC homer pick, which I've had a lot of ACC homer picks already. But I do think that is the game of the week in the ACC, not named. I'm not going to say the other game too, but
no, you know what?
It's kind of my early October. Maybe it'll be a good game, but I'm not putting that much stock in week 8.
I'm an audible. Let me paint a picture for you. Let me paint a picture.
I know what you're going to say.
Everybody during conference realignment is looking at this team, and they're like, yo, you can play a huge part in this. And they're like, no, we've got our TV money and our potatoes. We're all good. We're all good over here. And these Irish over here are just kind of living in their own world. You know, we have this NBC money. Ha. We have red hair. Ha. There's pot at the end of the rainbow. Ha. Well, they have to go play Georgia Tech, who nobody's talking about. Nobody's talking about Georgia Tech. It's going to be nighttime. They're going to have the Ramblin' Wreck out there. Coach Brent Key's going to have them fired up to play. I'm actually going to go to the Notre Dame Georgia Tech game. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be rowdy. And I think it's a chance for the ACC to kind of stick it to Notre Dame a little bit. So that's where I'll go. I'll go to the Notre Dame Georgia Tech game.
It's a great pick.
I do love Coach Freeman, though. Yeah.
A lot of people are picking Notre Dame to lose this game. Georgia Tech comes to Virginia Tech the week after.
They do. Week 9 is an awesome week of football. awesome week of football. And again, I'm put in a weird position where there's a game that I should probably pick here, and I'm not going to, because I'm going to go with what our guy, Late Kick Josh, says is America's Conference's game of the week. The Kansas Jayhawks have to travel to Manhattan. They're not flying into JFK. They're not flying into LaGuardia. They're going to play Kansas State. The state of Kansas has multiple good football programs, and both of these programs can win and can compete for the Big 12 championship. I'm going to Kansas State, week 9. Lock it in. That's my pick.
Really good pick.
Thank you. Was that going to be your pick?
Are we on the right week here? I'm just making
week 9.
Sure.
Yeah,
week 9.
We are on the right week. The question is, are you, my friend, on the right week?
I was having some issues with the Control F button. It wasn't finding Kansas State on this.
Pat's looking down and seeing that Nevada is at Hawaii at 11:59. He's wondering. He's wondering if he could double dip on the Warriors. I'll allow it. I think you'll miss Thanksgiving, but I'll allow it.
Yeah, either that or Rice at UConn. Just really trying to see how we can incorporate Rice into to this slate here. For me, Saturday, October 26th. There's some good football games, but I'm not allowed.
Please note, this is just Pat confirming the right date. That's why he said it, because he knows one of us would raise our hand to say, "Hey, Pat, I think you're looking at the wrong week."
Listen, I know Billy Ray likes this one. Missouri at Alabama.
Yeah,
you get to go to Brian Downey, see what Missouri is all about, and that's it for me. I think Alabama will probably be a touchdown favorite, but we'll see what Missouri can do on the road.
There's an obvious pick here, Bryce. I'm looking at two ACC teams playing in games that I would attend.
No, it's actually kind of a cool rivalry week. Like Penn State's at Wisconsin, Florida State's at Miami, LSU plays at A&M. Obviously, you mentioned the Kansas State game. Is there a name for that rivalry game? I'm surprised if there isn't. I think it's
the Tumbleweed Classic.
UNC plays UVA. Like that's a rivalry game. It's like
they call it the Sunflower Showdown.
That is so not grit. That is
not what I was thinking. Pat, did you pick the Alabama game or the Ole Miss game?
I picked the Alabama game. Here is the Sunflower Showdown's Wikipedia page, just so everyone can
see. It's kind of a cool logo.
Dude, that's what you're going to. Buy me a T-shirt.
Sounds fun. It is pretty awesome that they're good. I'm excited about that.
I got one for you, Bryce. I got one for you, Bryce. If you need a phone a friend.
No, I'm good. I think the easy pick is just to go to Oxford, have a blast, have a great time. Maybe borrow one of Billy Ray's old jerseys. They'll probably fit me like a dress, but I'll throw some cowboy boots and fit right in. That sounds like a great time.
You're dressed like a frat chick, an oversized jersey, and some cowboy boots. You're gonna look ridiculous.
I don't know. Just making jokes over here, Billy. Just making jokes.
For the record, UNC UVA has been a very underrated game. Like that game's always competitive. UVA is always, and I'll be honest.
It's a really good rivalry in both sports.
Gonna catch flack here. I root for UVA in that game like every year. In the football game, I love watching Carolina lose. I've enjoyed watching UVA beat North Carolina. That's just me. Pat, would you agree? I'm not trying to throw you under the bus with me, but I'm just curious who you root for in that game.
Who do I root for in that game?
Carolina, Virginia.
Probably. Yeah, I don't have a favorite. I definitely have a least
the worst
favorite.
Team.
Both of
Yeah.
I think it's really like an ad hoc, like, hey, who's going to position us better in the Coastal? Now it doesn't matter, but that's how it was.
Yeah. Week 10, Virginia Tech is traveling to Syracuse. Pucker up time. A little nervous. Am I up or is Bryce up here? Bryce, I think this is you.
I am.
This is a tough week. This is a really, really good Big Ten week.
Yeah, it is. I think it's the first time you can probably say that the people's interest in the Big Ten matchups are going to outpace the interest in the SEC matchups. I think this is the first week. It only took 10 weeks for it to get there. Man, this is weird because this game would be awesome. I think both fan bases would drive me up a wall. But I think you got to pick the game that's probably going to be the whiteout game for Penn State. You know, it's every year they get an opportunity to have a staple win over Ohio State or Michigan, and every year they don't get either of them. They might get fortunate enough now with the expanded playoff that they don't need to beat either one of them. They can probably make the playoffs, but you know, that atmosphere is going to be electric. I think you have to pick that game. I think college football would love to see Penn State win, just because otherwise, you know, I don't think anybody really I do not want to see Ohio State play Georgia in the national title, and I think you need games like that to go different ways for that to happen, because those are certainly the two best teams on paper.
I would just like to say, unfortunately, that's going to be big noon kickoff because of big stupid idiots that wear suits and ties, which sucks. That game should be played at night. It's not going to be.
You don't think that it's possible that the other game they could do that for and make it work?
No, that's going to be the best game on in the Big Ten, more than likely, and they're going to put that in their primetime spot because Fox is going to want it, which sucks. So, kind of a bummer.
I'm just surprised that Bryce didn't choose to just hang around. And I mean, Tulane is coming to Charlotte that weekend, Bryce. Florida, Georgia, square off in Jacksonville. It's going to be a blowout. Unfortunately, I can't watch Oregon or Michigan play this weekend. I can't see Clemson or Louisville play either. So I am going to have to get to Jacksonville for the cocktail party.
Well, Pat, thank you for previewing my pick. I'm going to go watch Louisville play Clemson because you can't. Somebody's got to go. No, I think Louisville – I personally think Louisville's getting a little bit too much attention at this point. I mean, we're starting to talk about Louisville kind of crazy here. And then we got the whole Brom ball situation going on. You got Kyron Jones going on podcast saying it's like the best home field advantage that he played in all year. But look, I hope that both of these teams are playing important football at this point of the season. And I think that it's going to play a pretty big role in what's happening in the ACC. So I will go with the Louisville-Clemson game.
Can I zag you real quick?
Sure, of course.
How are you going to watch Clemson play twice in 1 year? Are you allowed to do that?
I haven't been to Clemson yet.
I mean, NC State plays Clemson.
Oh, is that game at Clemson? Oh, then I guess, see, Pat, I'm glad you did this because I would have just gone and it would have been over. So I'll go with Wisconsin at Iowa. I'll go to Wisconsin and Iowa. I think it's going to be a gritty game. I think it's going to be your classic Big Ten. It's probably going to be pretty cold. Interested to see if Iowa figures out this whole offense situation that they haven't been able to do in a long time. But I will keep an eye on the Louisville-Clemson game. I think it's going to be interesting. So good call out, Pat. Thank you for keeping me honest.
And just for a refresher on the rules, it's not even just going to a place. You can only see the team play one time.
That's not how I'm playing. I'm not playing.
Oh, yeah. I saw Oklahoma play twice in a row, different sites.
I'm not playing that way.
We'll just throw the flag on me and say, hey, Bryce, don't do it again.
Yeah. Anyway, week 11. I think you were texting like midweek. You were like, guys, should we make everybody pick a group of 5 game? I was like, I'm not trying to do like reverse Chinese algebra. Like, I just want to pick a road trip for the year.
To be fair, Billy struggles with algebra.
Yeah, I can't do it. I know my limitations.
Just make sure you show up to that wedding on September 29th, okay? how about you just follow through on that? I don't want to see
11. Week 11, Clemson is at Virginia Tech. It's probably one of the chances that Virginia Tech has to host College Game Day if they're good enough. You could argue, Pat, you have argued, and it's a fair argument that there are so many good games on that it might be tough for Tech to pull that off. What a week to have this pick. I'm going to go with Miami at Georgia Tech because I think you have a game of, I can't go to Miami, Georgia Tech because they played at they already played Notre Dame. Can't do that. Shit. I'll go with BYU Utah. Book of Mormon, battle to the death. Kyle Whittingham. It's been a big year for Mormons. All right. We had Jimmer Fredette was in the Olympics. We got BYU, Utah. I spent a month in Utah. Kyle Filipowski is Mormon. I'm chewing like a high school girl in my math class who drove me nuts. But yeah, I'll go with the battle of the death for Book of Mormon. That works for me. No double shots, no Yang Lang. Sign me up. Going skiing after too.
This is challenging.
I love this part of the pod, Pat. When we get to like week 9, like we've all clearly, like at least for me, when I do this and I'm going through like the ESPN weeks, like the first 6 weeks, I'm like, dude, this rocks. And then you get to week 9 and you're like, I literally don't care anymore at all.
This week is so tough. You know, we talk about College Game Day and we get excited about it. College Game Day is going to be in Mississippi. Like I would bet a lot of money.
What was that accent that you just developed
really?
when you were saying College Game Day is going to be in Mississippi?
I think I was looking at 3 screens. Yeah, that's fair. So I that's a tough break for us if that's what we really want. So
I'm getting it out of the way. There's some good games on this weekend, but I'm getting it out of the way on Thursday night. Yeah, the weather can be pretty good in South Carolina, in Conway, South Carolina, in early November. And I challenge you, Billy, right? This could also be one of the better G5 games on the calendar. App State is going to Coastal Carolina, and I'm going to be there. That's the game. The Chanticleers on the teal turf is getting the pick from your boy. Why are you giving me that look?
It's not the game of the year. The game of the year is Liberty App. Like it just is. Like it was almost 10 weeks ago. I also think it's fun. Like we need Sam Jesse on this podcast because I couldn't tell you the first thing about Coastal Carolina, App State, or Liberty. But I do know that it's going to be.
You know all about the game of the year in the G5. You know all about it. Let's have Sam Jesse right now, and we'll provide a live update as we get that answer.
Oh,
Bryce, we have the special cat.
You want to help me pick? Am I up? Was it my girl?
You are.
I go.
You are.
I had something.
That was his way of getting us to shut
distracted. Yeah, it somehow worked on Pat. I'm kidding. I had a game. I had a pick. Oh. Okay. Night. You say bye-bye? You say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
Okay. We're saying bye-bye.
Sons of 1-0, daughters of 1-0, Bryce.
I think this game's kind of forgotten, and it probably goes along with what Billy said earlier about this team playing another team. But the Florida State Notre Dame game could be a really, really good one. That's at Notre Dame. It's probably going to be really cold, so maybe I'll luck into some box seats to avoid it being 25 degrees and snowing and blowing 30.
Yeah, maybe I'll luck into some box seats at a stadium I don't know anybody at.
Crazier things have happened. So I think that game could be awesome. It's a really awesome week of college football. I feel like that week of like November 9th kind of always is. We usually get the LSU Alabama game. And we got some other great ones too. It would be, again, this is another like games that the people are rooting for. It would be awesome to see Penn State beat Ohio State, and then the next week, Ole Miss beat Georgia. It would be awesome. The odds of it, either one of them happening, it probably zero. That's just what we've seen for literally a decade. But it would be so healthy for the sport for Ole Miss to find a way to win that game. Billy Ray agrees.
I do agree. I really wanted to pick the Georgia Tech Notre Dame game because I think that's a fun quarterback battle. But
who'd you pick?
Is this Bryce? This is you. This is your pick.
I know. I'm up. I'm already on the next week. I will admit, fatherly duties kind of kept me from looking in the last couple of weeks, so we're kind of thumbing through it as we go.
How do we have this many weeks left? God,
I think there's 2, right? We got week 12,
week 12, week 13, and week 14.
Oh man, that is certainly getting up there.
It is.
I can't pass and just have like a week at home just to kind of recoup. Maybe my buddy Pat will be back by then from his dual trips to Hawaii. Oh man, it gets bleak here. I got to go with something. Long pause. I feel like I've seen most of these teams play, so I don't know what I'm doing.
Dude, literally pick anything.
We'll go to Florida. LSU comes to town. No, I've already seen them. I can't pick them. I'm sorry. We'll do Oregon, Wisconsin. I think it'd be a great party. Oregon probably blows them out. Madison seems like a blast. That and my shot clock was running out, so it was time to pick.
Running out.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the buzzer sound. The fans left. I got a fine in the mail from the league of league manager.
No, you got delay of games so bad that it was a safety.
It's pretty bad.
So I'm actually just going to do the hurry up offense, and I'm going to pick really fast, and I'm going to go to LA and see Nebraska play a conference game in the Coliseum. Billy, it's your turn.
Good pick. I'm going to go to Utah, Colorado. I just got back from hanging out with the Mormons and drinking some O'Douls and Heineken Zeros. I'm going to go hang out with Coach Prime.
Utah like 2 weeks in a row?
Well, no, the game is in Colorado. So I'm going to go to Colorado. What?
You're watching the same team 2 weeks in a row?
Yes. This is not my rule. I can see whoever I want. I'm going to Utah, Colorado. Yes. I want to see Coach Prime at least one time. And this is the time to do it. I'm so glad that I didn't choose to go to the Colorado State-Colorado game. That was so dumb earlier in the podcast. Your facial reactions both saved me from doing that. So I'm going to go to the Utah-Colorado game. And I'm going to go ski again.
Okay. The mountains are not going to be open in early November. So have fun with that. Pick for next week.
I'll go to the American Dream.
Hokies play at Duke on November 23rd. I turned 30 the next day. It's a big week. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys in Raleigh and Durham.
It's going to be awesome. Oh, I'm up. I'm up.
Yeah.
Wheels are falling off. You're still with us. Thank you.
So I can't do this because it'd be 3 trips in a row. Iowa State and Utah is going to be a great game. It's going to be a really good game. I can't go, but it's going to be a good game. Iowa State, a little bit of a sleeper pick for the Big 12. I'll go with Washington State at Oregon State. What a shame. What a bummer. It's the Spider-Man meme pointing at each other. It's just us in the Pac-12. It's down in the Pac-2. Where were you when Washington State and Oregon State? It would be so funny if, because they're in a conference of their own and they just if one team had like 1 win and the other team had like 8 wins, but then the team with 1 win beat the team with 8 wins, and then they won the conference over another team who had 8 wins. It would just be pretty funny to me. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with Washington State at Oregon State, just for the vibes, just because it's different.
You really missed an opportunity to call this the Pac-12 championship.
Damn. I'm going to go to the Pac-12 championship. Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm actually going to extend my 2 Thursdays and 3 nights. Big tilt down at Bobby Dodd. NC State is coming to town. This is going to be a fun football game. This is going to be a really fun football game. Jostling for a position late in November, as the ACC rankings shake up at the end of the year. Serious bowl implications here. Listen to that. We're talking about bowl games being exciting. This is kind of like the difference between a Duke's Mayo and a pinstripe. You win this game, you might be playing in Charlotte. Lose this game, you might be rolling into JFK, that Manhattan. So, Bryce, what do you have for?
I think a lot of Hokie fans are going to be rooting for Georgia Tech that week. I hope they are, because that means we're involved. But we'll see.
The second to last week of the year, that's kind of always like the SEC rest week. I think
you gotta stop, dude. Like, you have no shame. Like, the way you talk about the SEC is so crazy. Like, did the SEC hook up with all of your ex-girlfriends? You hate the SEC. Like, it's crazy.
No, I don't hate the SEC.
You do.
I don't. It bums me out that the ACC is heading where it is. As someone who played a sport in the ACC, I have a lot of pride in our conference. I grew up in ACC country. Like, you grew up in New Jersey as an Ole Miss fan. Like, I'm not saying you don't love Virginia Tech, but you also like have an SEC school. I don't. I wish we were at a place where we could compete with them and beat them constantly. And it is frustrating that we're not able to. And that's just what it comes down to. I'm probably a little bummed, a little butthurt, if you will, but I love the ACC and love Virginia Tech. And I wish it was in a path where it was succeeding at the same level. And there's a lot of reasons that it's not. And I think it's okay for me not to schedule my life around all these awesome SEC games. I'd rather watch our team, other ACC schools, and I don't really need to watch the SEC games.
I got to be honest, Bryce, you wouldn't rather watch North Carolina play Wake Forest than Georgia play Ole Miss, or Tennessee play Alabama, or Arkansas play Missouri. Like, I don't think that's
Hold on. True. To be fair, you go look at the SEC, there's been very little parity in that conference. Alabama and Georgia have absolutely dominated it. So, yeah. And majority of Georgia Mississippi State games, or Georgia Ole Miss games, or Georgia anybody else, or Alabama anybody else, a lot of them are just absolutely, they come in and they railroad the other team. I'm not saying that Carolina Wake Forest is much watch TV, but there's always tons of good games in the ACC. Is the talent the same level as those SEC games? Probably not, but a lot of SEC games aren't close, and you could argue a lot of them are kind of meaningless. We already know who the 2 best teams are in the SEC, or at least it's been that way quite often for the last 10 to 15 years.
Bryce just sold the ACC to every single person who is going to come across that bit.
No, I have a lot of conference pride. Look, I've told you what I think could have fixed the ACC, and we could be in a totally different situation. It didn't happen, but I think 2 maneuvers could make the ACC look completely different than it is today.
What are they, just for the record? Just put them out there.
Think about what our conference would look like, especially for football, if Cal and Stanford were not in it and we were able to add Notre Dame. The additions of Notre Dame, SMU, the most historic football program, arguably, of all time, plus the absolute sleeping dragon of, is that the right term? Sleeping giant.
Sleeping giant, bro.
Sleeping giant, thank you. Sleeping giant of SMU, who already reached the pinnacle of the sport before NIL was a thing, doing what NIL is. People would have been like, wow, those were awesome pickups. But they would be viewed as just as good as picking up Oregon and Washington and Texas and Oklahoma. Maybe not Texas, Oklahoma, but certainly Oregon and Washington.
It'd be a really good move. It'd be better than Stanford and Cal.
Because all of a sudden you have Virginia, Virginia Tech, NC State, Carolina, Notre Dame, SMU, Florida State, Clemson, Miami. It looks pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't be talking about breaking that up.
Where are we?
To go back to my pick, this is probably the week that I'm going to pick my Group 5 game. I think the JMU App State game is always absolutely awesome. I think JMU would look pretty good in our conference, just as a record. I think both those teams could. Both teams could very well be in the ACC before this all ends. It's always a pretty big game for both teams, and it would mean a lot for either team that wins. Then we can move to the last week. I can't pick this game, and I'm not trying to steal anyone's thunder. I think it's really cool that Washington's playing Oregon the last week of the year. Just feels like a special. I know there's already a rivalry there, but it just feels big time for them, and excited for that. I'm going to go to the Iron Bowl. I think I've picked all the other games that are possible. That game was awesome last year. It seems like, again, it's another game where the records don't matter. Auburn could come in at 6-5 and go and beat Alabama in Alabama. They don't care. And they could play spoiler. I don't know. So that's my pick.
Timeout. Bryce, you let me down. Pat, I can't pick this game. Don't let me down. You have to pick this game. I really hope. You didn't know what week it was 2 weeks ago, so my confidence level that you have this on your radar right now is very low. But there's a game that has to get picked up right here.
I think I really hope it's Big 12. Is it Big 12?
No.
I've already seen Texas play.
That's not the game I'm talking about.
Pat, who does Colorado State play the last week of the year?
I'm going to Oklahoma State at Colorado. I think
it's so sad.
There's a lot on the line. There's a lot on the line.
There's literally nothing on the line. Deion Sanders will have 3 wins, and Oklahoma State will either be in or out of the Big 12 championship.
There's a lot on the line. Deion Sanders might have 3 wins. You don't want to go in 3-9 in year 2. The win total is 4.5.
Had you been to LSU yet?
Have I been to LSU yet? I don't think I've been to LSU, Billy Ray.
So no interest in, 2 teams that have only played each other 3 times ever, a matchup of the 2019 college football playoff semifinal, Oklahoma LSU last game of the year.
I saw Oklahoma play against Tennessee.
You had the rule thing.
I'm following rules here.
Okay. You're following your rules.
We're going to have to go back to the pod last year. These are the rules we followed.
All right. I can't believe that game is going to go unpicked, but I'll go with Texas versus Texas A&M. First time they're playing since 2011. This is one of those games that never should have stopped being played. Texas and Texas A&M should play every single year. Don't know why they didn't. But that's my pick. That's going to be a fun game to watch. I think that's a really heated rivalry. People in Texas, they're going to be pissed. It's hot.
It's at November 30th. It's going to be hot.
People in Texas are going to be pissed, and it's hot.
So they're going to be pissed because it was hot.
It is a rare win of conference realignment. Again, that we get to see those teams play each other.
Well, is that a win for conference realignment? Because conference realignment was the reason we didn't see them play each other.
That's fair. That's fair. I guess if you're just looking at
that's
where we were last year compared to we are today.
That's like saying somebody drowned in the lake last week.
Oh no!
No shout out to water, but this week somebody was overheating and jumped in the lake. So shout out to the lake. Like there's good that comes from the lake and there's bad. I gotta go to the Padres game. This is when we get to this point of like the podcasts, like it just kind of gets a little out of control. It all started with the Mormon week. Like when we got to BYU Utah, it kind of This is my favorite pod, though. This is fun. I do enjoy that.
I'll have two things, and I have to run as well. One,
I don't have to go anywhere.
Notre Dame plays at USC again. My hot take in college football, and Pat knows this, I wonder how long it's going to be before USC stops playing that game. I don't care what anyone says about it. Everyone's like, oh, they'll play forever. They're rivals. That does not always happen. USC is going to stop playing that football game.
I'm so tired of this take from you. I really like Bryce wants to annex like Notre Dame. He's like, teams should just stop playing them. It's like, yeah, teams should just stop playing the most famous brand in college football because of
They
spite.
might.
No, they won't.
That's fine. I'm just telling you again, it goes back to I'm an ACC guy. They're kind of in a way not helping our conference.
They don't have to at all.
The beauty of every argument like this is we get to see what's going to happen, and and we'll just see. We'll leave it at that.
That's almost like your crazy Olympic take. Like Notre Dame looking out for the ACC would be like the United States looking out for Canada and being like, you know what, we won't send the NBA players to the Olympics because Canada deserves a chance. Like they deserve a chance.
Hold on, you're getting sidetracked, and you're missing my point on that one. That's for another podcast. I have nothing to say about bringing our best team or not. Let's not get into it because it's not true. My second point was I always am worried I'm going to say something stupid when I come on here with you guys. And I always appreciate that Billy's on with me because he always makes me feel better and makes me feel silly about being worried because I know my guy is going to put his foot in his mouth at some point. So it makes me feel better when I do. But love you guys. Thanks for having me on. Dad duty's calling, so I'm going to run. But so excited for this year. Game 1, Nashville. Going to be a party. We actually are throwing a party at Tin Roof that first night. It's going to be an absolute blast. Thanks for having me on, and go Hokies.
Go Hoks.
We'll see you week 15 in Charlotte.
Or Hawaii.